it goes. There it goes. All right. Let's call to order the meeting for the Community Homeless Advisory Board for March 6th. Let's start with a salute to the flag. Kathleen, will you lead us?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, will you give us a roll call, please?
Certainly. Alexis Hill, Chair, is absent. Ed Lawson, Vice Chair.
Here.
Devin Reese.
Here.
Kathleen Taylor. Here. Christopher Dare.
Here.
Michael Clark.
Present.
Sir, you have a quorum.
Okay. Madam Clerk, we have any public comment?
We do. First up, we have Jeff Church.
Are we live? Great. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone had their coffee. I did. My name's Jeff Church. Little background, I retired from the Reno Police Department. I previously ran the Reno PD homeless program known as HELP, and I was the founder and board president of Reno's first 501c3 24/7 365 homeless center. And I've been involved in the peripheral of homeless issues ever since. I have a handout that I didn't have time. I was drinking coffee, didn't have time to get and make copies of this, but I will give it to the clerk. Just wanted to discuss a couple issues. The CARES campus. I was nice enough, Katrina and Ms. Deanna gave me a tour of the CARES campus. Wonderful ladies, very, very informative. The CARES campus, it's like the best plans of mice and men. Wonderful idea. I supported it. EDON even paid for me to go and visit some different homeless campuses in New Mexico and Texas. But I think it's a failure in the sense that it's $17 million a year of money that's not being adequately spent. The homeless basic idea that you're going to have in your handout is the basics. Bunks, tents, and car parking is very important. And last I was there, we don't have that. The car is their home for many people. They won't leave it. They need a safe area where they can park. Tents. We don't need big $5,000 heated tents. We just need the basics. If it gets that cold, they can go inside where the bunks are into the warming center. But if they can live in the river, on the river in tents, they can live in the homeless center at CARES in tents. So I just think it's kind of spiraled out of control in terms of the spending. In terms of other options that's in the handout, and I'm stealing this from a former county commissioner, jail is often the best bad choice. We need to get them into treatment. The issue is not housing. It's not housing. Believe me, I've been doing this for years. It's mental health and drug addiction. Those are the two issues you got to deal with. Housing's not going to solve that. We need to change our mental health laws, NRS 433A, just like California. Believe it or not, California did it to extend the ability to house people, and they get their full legal rights. They don't, we don't just lock them up. They get legal representation, et cetera. So the bottom line, and also really long term, I think there should be an appetite to look into a rural facility where they're away from the temptations of drug and alcohol. But the bottom line I think I want to convey is that CARES should be the basics. It shouldn't be anything fancy. Housing is not a human right in Nevada. It's not under the Constitution. They have a right to the pursuit of happiness. And we give them the basics, but we don't have to give them housing. And when I ran our homeless center, they got the housing if they earned it. If they worked, if they had a plan, if they did something where they earned it. But just basically giving people complete unlimited housing, I don't think is the answer. Thank you very much, and I'll give this to the clerk.
Okay, thank you. Our chairs showed up now. We're in public comment.
Finally showed up.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking over, Mayor Lawson. Next up.
There is nobody else signed in. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak for public comment? I see nobody.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. We will now go to the approval of the minutes from September 12, 2022. Are there any changes by the board?
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Yes, got a first and a second. All those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none. Great.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just for the record, there was no public comment on that item.
Okay, yes, and
I'll recuse.
you were not here.
I was not here.
Yes, you cannot certify those minutes. That's okay. Thank you. We will now go to the overview of the Community Homeless Advisory Board. This is a non-action item, but I just kind of wanted to, before we started our discussion today, discuss kind of what are the goals of this board. I know that Mayor Lawson and I discussed, now that we have our handle on the emergency housing situation at the CARES campus, and we're going to get a great update from Ms. Cersei on that, what would this board like to tackle next? And do you think that it's necessary for this board to still continue meet quarterly? What else would you like to see? I will tell you that this board does also we want to make sure that our partners at Reno and Sparks feel comfortable with what Washoe County is doing, but Washoe County also will receive quarterly reports during our board meetings about the CARES campus and how quickly we're housing people and our Built for Zero model, et cetera. So I'm happy to open it up to the board and address any questions, and we can even move this to later in the meeting if folks aren't ready to chat about it. So, yes.
Madam Chair, can I ask you, can we move this to after we have the presentation?
Absolutely.
As that might spur on some other questions or
Yeah,
comments.
absolutely. Is everyone okay with that? Okay. Okay, great. So let's just table this item for a moment, and we'll now move on to the board update and discussion on the Nevada CARES campus. This is Ms. Cersei from Washoe County. Come on up.
Good morning. Okay, nice to see everybody. We are going to do a little more of a comprehensive update as we do have 2 new members to this board. Is it working? Great. So first, take a quick peek at our program model. As many of you are very much aware, CARES Campus is about serving everybody in our community. It is the lowest barrier shelter that we have. We are focused on permanent housing options. We have a lot of what we call positive movement to treatment facilities and that kind of thing, as everybody has a different need. But really, ultimately, we are looking for permanent options so that we can get you out of this cycle. And that's built on lots of different services, some provided at the campus, some provided by our nonprofit partners, but really a community wraparound effort here. The campus addresses a lot of barriers. We know about pets, we know about property, we know about couples. What we don't hear a lot about is those background check or ID requirements. Those kinds of things, they can add up. As 2 or 3 of these things apply to many of our programs in the community, it leaves the CARES campus as the only option for a lot of our most vulnerable that are served in our community. And as we have been sharing at this board for the past 1.5 years, these are the priorities of our work right now: staffing and training, safety and security, making sure that the facilities and the construction is moving forward, and that partnership development, because we know that we can't do it alone. It is going to take all of our regional partners to help. A peek at John DeCarmine. This was our consultant that we continue to work with. He was offered to us as an expert by Org Code, and if you'll recall, in Gainesville, Florida, he runs one of the only places where there is a safe camp attached to an emergency shelter, which is why we brought him out here. He's been out 3 times now and is continuing to work with us on training. But all of those things that he put in that first report about 1.5 years ago as recommendations for the campus have now been implemented. Those 2 in orange, diversion and staffing, they are implemented, but they are orange because we have some work to do. They're just in their beginning stages of getting stable. I also threw this slide in. We get a lot of questions about cleaning at the CARES campus. We hear a lot about bed bugs. We hear a lot about the facility itself and what kind of water is on site and that kind of thing. So I threw this in here. We do sanitize everything multiple times a day. There is some power washing going on, and we do go in every other month and spray for pests of various kinds, even skunks that live at the safe camp. that's been going on for about a year and a half. So no surprises here, but I just wanted to give it to you in one concise place. And a look at who we are serving. These graphs we've been sharing each time we meet. These are also updated. All of the data that you see here is updated monthly on our website. Unique clients over the past year, we've seen almost 2,900 people. That is a little bit less than the last snapshot that we took, which was over 3,000. But still, you know, we're talking about 3,000 unique people in our region. And these are just people who have spent a night in a bed. This does not count additional people that might come in for the emergency cots during the winter or just some day use services or a meal. And also total bed nights, 215,000 as we continue to talk. Just the magnitude of people at the campus and the need is not reducing.
And Ms. Cersei, sorry to interrupt, but on that slide, I know that we, in the orange, you had as one of John DeCarmine's what recommendations was diversion. And we are serving so many clients, but many of those clients are not spending weeks and weeks in the shelter because we're able to give them a little bit of cash to fulfill that rent gap that they had, or find them somewhere if they're seeking out family, find them a connection to family, all of those kind of things. And I know that there's work to be done with that, but I think it just shows this number is so impressive about people who really need that night, and we are able to provide that for them, but we're still working on getting them that permanent housing through their journey.
Absolutely. And then this is a snapshot by age. This is just 1 month in January, looking at the breakdown by age. And we see a lot of trends that no one is comfortable with. Most importantly, that a large portion of our population at CARES Campus is above the age of 55. We have a lot of elderly people up into their 80s, and that is concerning. We definitely want seniors to have a safe place to live. Also, disability, 50%, a full 50%. This is both cognitive and physical. That is self-reported, and then case managers are working to bring in resources around that. But a full 50% have a documented disability, and then 29% are non-insured. That is completely no insurance, no Medicaid, no options. And so we're starting from the very beginning to get people signed up for benefits and connect them to providers to provide help. This is a look at our staffing levels. Again, a lot of these graphs are familiar to all of you. We've been sharing this as we've made progress. The Board of County Commissioners approved quite a bit of an improvement of staff. We added all of those positions last year about this time, and we've been busy filling them. In April last year, you can see there's 37 vacancies at VOA and 25 at Washoe County because we had added a lot of positions. And we're only down 9. We have 9 empty positions at VOA and 1 on our county team.
Is that why we have an orange in the staffing? Because we're down those positions?
Say that one more time, I apologize.
Is that why the John DeCarmine recommendation
Yes.
is in orange? Because we
Yes.
still need to fill about 9 positions?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, because we're not
You're very
full.
hard on yourself because 9 positions versus all the, like 37 positions. I think it's a vast improvement.
It is a vast improvement, and with all of your support, we've been able to get that funding in place. So that's why we ticked it over as implemented, but we're trying to be transparent about where we are. So shelter options, another thing that we continue to see progress with at the campus is the different options. A lot of people are not comfortable moving into a bunk bed situation with 600 people. As we start to have these smaller dorms open up, and we'll show you what that looks like in a minute, people are more comfortable. The area around their beds is cleaner. It's calmer in the dorms. We also have Safe Camp. Those mod pods are a really good option for people who are currently living on our streets and near our rivers that don't feel comfortable coming into a congregate shelter. We can get them in that mod pod and still provide care. And then opening up, our women's dorm just opened up this week with our first couple of semi-private living cubbies. There's 8 in that dorm, and those clients are very happy to be there, but we will have 150 when we get done inside the Sprung. And then ultimately, that phase 3 supportive housing will offer us quite a bit of different range of options here. And then our community partners, this list continues to grow. We have also been sharing this with you as this campus has developed. There are lots of partners on site. Most notably, the new one is Dieter. We're strong enough now to be looking towards workforce development, and you'll see that on our next steps of where we're going. So security, again, all of this is things you guys have been watching, but our numbers continue to decrease with our non-EMS law enforcement response. We have seen quite a tick up over the winter. We have a lot more people on site coming in for the emergency shelter, the cots, and we also have just a lot more illness, in general in the winter time. So we're also seeing that medical services response from Remza and Reno Fire continue to go down. Again, we see the same thing, a peak over the winter, but we're expecting that to decrease as we try to get rid of some of the snow. And this is our housing placements. Our most important outcome that we can show you is permanent housing placements. We have almost tripled, not quite, but almost. We're averaging over 30 a month into permanent housing. When we first met John DeCarmine, we were averaging about 10 per month. He set the goal for us of, it'd be great to see about 50 ultimately when this campus is up and running and we've got services in place and staff in place. If we could be moving 50 people a month into permanent housing, that would be a good place to be. So we're about halfway there, and we're glad to see these numbers continue to increase. So construction, lots going on. Many of you have visited, some recently and some 6 months ago. You may not recognize a lot of the buildings that are now on site. This is just a snapshot of our temporary buildings. I wanted you to be aware that we are changing things. We used to have 15 temporary buildings on site. We're reducing that down just a little bit, and what we're doing is flipping. Construction's been on the north half of the campus. We are going to move all the temporary buildings to the north half, and construction will be the entire south half. The big change that means for us is that we're going to move the front door of the campus from 4th Street and Threckle to the end of Line Drive. We'll be moving security over there where our safe camp check-in and security and gate is. If you're familiar with that, right on the corner, you can see in that lower picture there's a little red, mark the spot. That's where the entrance to the campus will be for the next year as we work through the next largest phase of construction. Budget. This budget has not changed very much in the past year. We updated our board. I just wanted you to have the latest numbers. We so far are on track with this budget as the bids have started to come in. That pie chart shows what all of this funding is going to. Again, it was really important to us to show that we are not spending $78 million on an emergency shelter. This campus has a lot more to offer, a lot of different services, housing programs, all of that's going into this. And then this is where we are on all that funding coming in. As you are all very much aware, our interlocal agreement was the first really large chunk of that, the first $38 million. Home Means Nevada funding. Since we last met, we have been awarded $21.9 million for that housing, and it will develop about 3 acres, 2.5 acres of that campus overall. The Housing Authority property purchase is in there. The capital campaign has raised about 1.6. They've raised more than that, but 1.6 is formally what has been moved over to Washoe County and accepted by our board. And then a federal appropriation of $12 million. So we are very close to having all of this in place. And again, that pie chart shows the breakdown. This truly is a project that is jointly funded and supported at many different levels of government, as well as our private community. So I'm going to move quickly. I know you guys are pretty familiar with this, but I wanted you to have the latest renderings and the map. This is the latest site map, and we're going to go through each of the different pieces. So Safe Camp, we've got Mod Pods. You guys have seen this map before. There'll be 50 Mod Pods down in that Governor's Bowl. Green is grass. That blue area is a shaded structure. And the orange is a building that they can get inside, receive training. Their meals will be served there from Catholic Charities. And there's also some restroom facilities. This is what it currently looks like. The snow is ruining our picture here, but most of the pads are down for the Mod Pods. We're talking about moving Mod Pods in about 2 weeks. We're gonna start the process. So it's pretty exciting, and then we'll lay the grass and the trees in a couple weeks after that. Phase 2 is the sprung improvements and the 2 restroom facilities that are going in. Inside the sprung, again, it's kind of hard to see on this screen, but the different dorms are being built out. So 2 of the dorms are now open, the women's dorm and the first large bunk bed area, as well as our property room inside. And they're working on that southernmost blue area now, which will be the largest bunk bed area when we get done. Again, as we start to have these walls go up, we're watching behavior improve. It's getting quieter. Staff is more connected to our clients. We've started case conferencing with, if you remember it from Built for Zero, that's where we have case managers sitting with people who have access to housing programs. And really, we're sitting around talking about individual clients, what are their needs. Some of them are very complicated cases, working with hospitals and other agencies to work through how do we get to a housing situation which, again, can stick. So there is a case conferencing meeting in each dorm during each week. So there's a lot of conversation and movement that we're seeing there. These are the renderings of the restroom facilities that you've previously seen, floor plans. And this is what it looked like when we were under construction. Again, this was intended to be detention grade, block, heavy ventilation. We did not want to see the mold issues that we've previously seen on the campus. We wanted to make sure that these would stand up to the use. And these are real pictures from just last Friday inside that building. We're just about ready to open this. So phase 3 is our intake building here, our welcome center, which will include all of case management, all of the training, our behavioral health staff, the dining hall, and upstairs is an office space for staff. And these are just some renderings inside that space. This is the case management space and the dining hall. The resource center is also part of phase 3. This is the large blue metal building. You guys have seen us use that in very creative ways over the past year and a half as it became our emergency overflow area. It also was where we moved the Safe Camp into when the weather got too cold for the cots and we needed a place to keep them warm as we waited for Mod Pods. So this will be transformed into a resource center, a maintenance area for the 2 facility staff that are on site, and the rest of it will be storage and a built-in overflow with 82 beds that we'll have in our community. One of the things that we're trying to do with all of these spaces is make them flexible for use. So this room is one that will exist in our community regardless of the need. It will be separate from the shelter, but be on campus if there was ever another COVID outbreak, something like that. This building, this space could be used to support other needs in our community also. And this is what it looks like, couple renderings from inside. This space, again, is going to be a lot of providers that can come. The intent is to have legal services, financial services, case managers on site. Meals will be served. This is a place to go if you don't know where to go. If you're about to become homeless, you just received an eviction notice, you're starting to lose food stamps, whatever the situation, this is the place for you. You can come here and there'll be people here that can guide you through what services exist and how can we possibly prevent you from becoming homeless. This will also serve as the day use area, so anybody who is currently homeless and just needs a shower or some laundry, they can come on into here and take care of that without being on the main campus, which, you know, has 600 people in bunk beds. So we're trying to spread out the different areas of the campus and provide some calmness. And then supportive housing, obviously a shining gem for the campus is to build out housing. One of those projects is this housing building, which will have 50 units of permanent housing with supportive services. These will be single rooms, and we're gonna play with some double rooms. What we find is a lot of people have, and maybe it's not a partner, it might be a friend that they have stayed together for many, many years. And when we move one into housing, the other one comes right back to the campus because they don't want to be without their friend. So we're going to try some co-ed living and see how that goes as a pilot in our community. This is a look at the timeline, just so you have this. Again, we've shared this before, but each block is a different color and a different phase, and you can see the appropriate timeline. So right now, we're in that June to winter 2023 in that blue area. The next thing up in April 23, just next month, we'll be starting phase 3. The phase 4 supportive housing, the plan is to go out to bid in July and hopefully break ground in September or October with that process. And Safe Camp is almost complete, so we'll keep you up to date on that, but we're hoping that's completely wrapped up in April. And that future supportive housing on here, that project also was awarded money from Homeings Nevada, about $16 million. So we'll be working to bring that in front of our board of the process of giving the land to that developer and getting them moving on that project. That is 120 units of housing, 40 of permanent supportive housing, and the rest will be very low income, about between 30 and 60% AMI. So next steps for program development, as I mentioned, we're really looking for that employee readiness and training aspect. I know that that has been a goal for this campus all along. We're ready to start tackling that and start developing that aspect. Haircuts, we hear this a lot. It's really important. So we're gonna be working to get some of our partners on site to provide haircuts. And then therapy groups, many different forms, whether it's our behavioral staff or AA sessions coming on site, lots of different things happening in that realm. And then construction, that restroom A building, as I said, that's opening. We are hoping next week is actually when that will open to our participants to go into. Safe Camp opening in April, and then before our board on March 28th, we'll be bringing the GMP number 2, which is for phase number 3. The entire Welcome Center and the Resource Center will be coming before the County Commission Board. And that's it.
Thank you, Dana. And what an exciting update, I think, for the community, because they haven't heard from us since September, and you have been very busy. So I'm going to open it up to the board. Do I have anyone with comments? Yes, Councilman Dare.
Hi, and it's been a little while, and it's just amazing to see the stuff that has been placed and what you guys are doing. And I mean, everything from our caseworkers that are in place and the hiring, and even your guys' vision of how you're connecting the dots, and even our community. And so I just would say hats off. I look forward to a tour myself. I was supposed to do that a few months ago. It didn't work out. But I would say that without question, I think you guys are on the right track, and I wouldn't count this as anything but that. So I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing how we as a region can continue to put that out there. One of the things that I think is continued plus is these roads where we always talked about warm handoffs. This is one of the conversations that is a concern. And I think you guys are working and creating those by having community all together. And I think that's a fantastic thing to do. So I think one of the questions I have is just, so we definitely have all the places for our low barrier things. Do we have some programmable barrier where people can reach out of that in place? What are could you speak to that for a moment?
Yes, so when you come into the campus, you're going either into the Safe Camp, and again, working with case managers, that process looks like all of our community partners, the Hope teams and Clean and Safe from Reno sitting around to say, yes, we feel like this is a good fit. We feel like this is a reasonable fit. We want to make sure that we're not putting someone in a mod pod that is not ready for that. But then, and the bunk beds. So those are kind of the first two options. And then from there, you're graduating kind of into different programs. And many of those programs are off-site, right? We can't provide everything at CARE. So if Crossroads is a good fit, or if we can get you to Eddie House or whatever those look like, we are reaching out to partners and getting you to those locations. If you're staying at CARES, then the next step is to engage in case management and get yourself into that cubby. So that cubby is a little more privacy. You get to keep your belongings with you. Though it's for people that are engaging in case management, have gotten that job, and they're preparing to live independently. And a lot of this is stepping stones.
I just have one more a concern that I've had over the years of us talking about this. It's that there's a large percentage of people who are there, and you mentioned the 50% disabled, that could never get it potentially. And I'm saying 50% of them couldn't, because some probably could. But there is a percentage who could never get a job if they wanted because of their condition mentally or physically. And it seems like we do have them in the wrong spot. Is there a plan for that?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult right now because our community doesn't have all of those resources, and what limited resources we do have for those with disability are full, both on the mental health side, on the cognitive side, and the physical side. So a lot of the vision of CARES is to adjust as our population adjusts. So right now, CARES is holding a whole bunch of people that really do need a higher level of care. They need to get out of there as fast as we can possibly make that happen, but there's nowhere for them to go. And so we're working with them, we're working with our partners to build out those facilities, which is why the housing is so important. It's not just straight housing, it's housing with services. Again, those behavioral health facilities, those long-term care facilities, we just really do not have a lot of those.
But
So
we're building that.
we are building, yes, some of that. We have lots of holes to fill, but yes. And
Good job. Thank you for the update.
Yeah.
It was very, very encouraging.
Thank you. Anyone else on this side have comments? Yes, Commissioner Clark?
Thank you. I'd like to ask a couple of questions. There was a newspaper article a month or so ago about Karma Box and their proper filings with the government. Has that been addressed?
yes, we are working with Karma Box. We were made aware of it through that article also, as many of the team was. And we, the county, have requested an action plan be put into place. So we have from Karma Box an action plan, a corrective action plan with dates that need to be adhered to, and we are closely following up each week as those steps are taken.
So I don't have the exact date, but that was approximately a month ago that article came out. And,
Yes.
And it stated in the article that Karma Box had to let their government filings had lapsed some time ago, a year ago possibly. And so I just want to see when that's going to be corrected and if it's going to be corrected.
Yes.
Can we get some kind of a date besides we're working on it?
No, March 15th is the
Okay.
date that we have been told that everything will be cleaned up and in order.
Okay.
And we will keep you guys very closely updated on that as we will be bringing something before the board if that's to not happen.
Okay. And I wanted to thank Jeff Church for his public comments. He made some good points there that we should take a good hard look at. I'd like to hear about the hot box. you know, as somebody who's had to deal with in property management with bed bug infestation, spraying just doesn't work because all you need is a viable egg, and the eggs are viable for up to a year on these bed bugs. So the hot box, when is that going to be in place so we can start heating up everything that goes in there? Because all it takes is, you know, one egg to hatch in there, and pretty quick the whole place is infested again. I mean, it's bad enough that people are down on their luck and having a hard time, but the last thing we want to do is put them in a close quarter situation and make sure that they keep the bed bug infestation down. So when is that hot box going to be available to start heating up their possessions as they come in?
So it is part of phase 3, and for anyone not familiar with what we're affectionately calling the hot box, it's a large room that will heat up to 140 degrees, and as people check into the campus, we'll put their belongings in there, and we'll be able to heat them and kill anything that may be in there before we put that into long-term storage. It will also be large enough that we can put beds and that kind of thing. If anything is to happen right now, treating that without heat is really difficult. We have not had any substantial outbreaks in bed bugs. We're always on the lookout, and we also look for lice. That's another one that we see a lot of, both head lice and body lice. MedTrust, our medical provider, is on site and treats people on site, so we don't have to be sending people back and forth from clinics and that kind of thing. So it is a concern, and we're doing all we can to mitigate.
Sure. And lastly, to Councilperson Daher's point, not everybody is going to ever, not 100% of the folks are ever going to be completely functional in society, but there's a certain, I don't know what the percentage is, but there's got to be a certain amount of folks that could work at some type of business, or some type of job, and some type of employment. I talked with the Chamber of Commerce there, and Miss Ann Silver says that she's got over 200 employers that would hire people right now, today. So with the caseworkers, could they reach out to the Chamber of Commerce and see if we can maybe start finding out who could work, who has a desire to work, who could be trained? These employers that hire them on the spot, pick them up, provide transportation, get them to the job site, get them back to the campus, and start making these folks that want to be productive and could be productive, they're prepared to hire people today. And I've heard this for the last several months from the Chamber of Commerce. So it'd be nice if we could coordinate that. Thank you.
And I would like to note, to your point, many of the people who live in the campus work. And that is the devastating part, is that many folks who are in our CARES campus have a job. They do not have enough money to afford to live, or they've got some other issues. So it's a tough time out there.
Sure, I understand that, but maybe the Chamber of Commerce could get them a job that paid more. So it's an opportunity to look at another way to generate income if they want to work. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
And our connection with DETA, right? That's the next step that we're doing. Do you have anything, Mr. Mayor?
Very quickly, it's amazing to me how far we've come from absolutely nothing to now we're talking about hot boxes and jobs, and where we had no program 3 years ago, less than 3 years ago, we had nothing, and now we're getting these solved these issues as we go along. We always knew there had to be a care to get them out of homelessness into a job and permanent housing. And I'm seeing the results, and man, oh man, what a great job that you guys are doing. Thank you for that.
Thank you, and thank you for your leadership of pulling our region together. That's essential. Anyone on this side? Yes, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation, Mr. C. This was, I'm just wowed, and kudos to everybody here and who has been a part of this. Really an amazing effort. And I'm impressed and I'm hopeful, and this is a great thing. My only comment is we have this I have had a tour, and it was safe and it was clean, and there were supportive services. And I think that's something that we collectively, and especially as leaders, need to be getting the word out there that this is a place for people to go get what they need, the supportive services. Sometimes when I'm talking to people, there's a misconception about what maybe we heard today about it not being safe, not being clean, and that's just not accurate. Everything that you're doing and your team is doing and our partner agencies have really created something for this region that is special and hopeful. So I think working together to make sure that we get that message out is going to be super positive and helpful. So thank you. Thank you. Ms. Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Councilman Reese.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of things. First of all, Ms. Searcy, thank you for the opportunity to spend some time at the CARES campus recently. I had some pictures sent over to you, and I'm wondering if the clerk is able to bring those up or where those are in the system.
We're bringing them up.
Yeah, for my comments, I wanted to maybe start at the beginning. Some of the members on this body were here and some are not, so some are new. But this is where we started. And then there's a couple of pictures here, I think 6 of them, that'll walk you through it. The CARES campus, of course, was a regional effort, entirely done by all of the bodies. And I think, as the commissioner said earlier, a lot of leadership was required to do that, certainly by Mayor Lawson, the other members of this body. And it took some stepping out in faith. It also happened at a time where the country was dealing with the pandemic. We had a shelter site that was not large enough for the needs to house the folks that were experiencing homelessness. And as a region, I think this is a good example of a collaborative approach. And then, of course, ultimately, now the county is taking the yo person's oar, and it's impressive. Dana, when I was at the campus with you, it's obviously an active construction site. So there's dirt, there's trash, there was snow. Going into the building, yeah, the floors were a little scuffed. At the end of the day, you have to have a larger vision, and I thank you for having that. I thank the county for having that larger vision. When you start to look at all the pieces of it, components of it, you described, I think, adequately and fairly all of the phases. But included in that, I think, is other folks who are coming along for the ride, right? So Hopes is designing a new clinic there. Volunteers of America is operating the Sage Street 1 and 2 expansions. Highway 40, Hope Springs is there. We have some incredible partners in this endeavor, and so all of them, of course, are folks who should be thanked, that whether that's Catholic Charities, St. Vincent's, the Our Place shelter it's related. They're all part of a web of services, the Eddie House, Karma Box Project, Empowerment Center. At one point in time in our recent past, you had a list of all of the beds that we have regionally. And I think it was a very instructive and informative way of thinking about it. None of these things happen in a vacuum. And there is a critical path and timeline, and your folks are doing the work. I think the slide that you showed that identifies all of the funding sources from both the state and the federal government, commitments by our federal delegation, are also examples of a region's broader vision for how we can serve this population of folks. I want to be very clear on a couple of things. Number one, housing is absolutely a human right. Anyone who says otherwise is fooling themselves into believing something that's not true. Human beings need places to live. Second, folks who are homeless certainly are entitled to the same privileges and rights as anyone who is not. In the Senate currently is Senate Bill 142, which is being considered. And I think ultimately, if it has some modifications or changes to it, will make for an excellent opportunity for us to identify an area of legal reality for folks who are in that place experiencing homelessness. I think, too, I want to speak to the slide that you mentioned, which says that 50% of the folks on the campus are potentially disabled, 42% of them are over 55, and make sure that I dispel the notion that anyone has to earn something to be there. Some folks are not in a position to be part of the earning system that we've created in this country, and they are no less deserving of housing, food, medical care, all of those things. And so when I was at the campus with you recently and we sort of stopped to take a look at where we'd been and where we are today, I want to just make sure that you and your staff know that they will have my support. You have been doing incredible work, long hours, a lot of moving parts. It's impressive. And again, from my perspective, the work that you do is meaningful because it makes an impact to the lives and generationally has the ability to impact folks in generational ways. I look at some of the folks on the campus who are not in that over 55 category, and they're, as Commissioner Hill said, they're working. They don't have insurance. They're one paycheck away at times. Many people are from being on the campus. I was excited to hear that the Resource Center is going to have sort of a stopgap measure to stop people from entering into homelessness. That, I think, is part of the picture. Ultimately, again, thinking about where we've been, where you are today, and where we are in the future, I can tell that in another year, 2 years, 3 years, we're going to be seeing even more transformational changes. So thank you. Incredible work that you're doing. Keep fighting.
Thank you. If I may, I'd really like to publicly thank the staff. As you have all seen, it is an active construction site. There are a lot of very ill people at that campus. It is not an easy place to be. Day in and day out, as each day we're like, well, tomorrow will be better, tomorrow will be better. You know, we are building one block at a time in that campus. Yes, over the last 2 years, it looks completely different, and 2 years from now, we won't even recognize it. But those staff they are the ones that do this work, and we couldn't do it without your support. But between VOA and Karma Box and all of our Washoe County staff and all our regional partners that are on site, they're doing amazing work. I got a text before I walked into this room that someone who's been in our shelter since 2018 just got housed today. They're loading up the truck in the sunlight and taking him to his house. It's really amazing to see this all come together. So thank you for all your support. We're happy to come and share with you what we're doing. And, we do tours almost every week in the community. So it's your campus too. Thank you all.
Thank you. I'm just really appreciative of the support of the region on what Washoe County is doing. So thank you for your support. And we want to continue to hear your feedback and see how we can do better and how we can continue to be a partner and, how we can support what you're doing in your communities as well. So thank you, Ms. Cersei. We really appreciate it. I will go back up to item 5, the overview of the advisory board. And there are folks on this board who have many more years on this board than I have had and have been really the reason we are where we are today with the CARES campus. This group came together and had a vision on what we could do as a region. So I wanted to hear from you about what you wanted to see for the year and how our team can make sure you stay informed. So please, I'm opening it up to the board. Yes, Mayor Lawson.
So this has been very much a community collaborative agreement. We knew we had to do it with Boise v. Wade. We can't just tell people to leave a public place. We have to have some place to house them. We didn't have that ability. We had available beds, but there was some barrier to get into that particular bed. So you had to be sober for 2 weeks, whatever that was. We didn't have a no barrier shelter. So there was no way for us to enforce the ordinances in our own cities. We came together and made this thing happen during a time in the pandemic when we all kind of realized that. And it was, I've been on this board since the day it was put together. And it was a way to bring everybody into the room. Because prior to that, I'm being the historian here, is we were in silos. So I would only handle this type of the population. I would only handle this. But if I didn't handle your population, I didn't make a phone call to say, hey, I've got someone who qualifies for a bed in your place. We brought everybody in the room. We brought the whole community together to make that happen. I think nowadays it's so much better than it was in that we are talking to each other and we are playing off each other's strengths to make that work. It's still in the beginning stages, I think, in order to come to the full circle where we go from homelessness to permanent housing in a fully functional person in society. For everybody, that's going to be different. Some it may be 3 months, some it may be 3 years, might be 5 years, who knows? But whatever it takes is to get to that ultimate goal. The best thing we did was adopt the Built for Zero program. There's so many communities, I forgot the number, it's around 100 or something around the country that have come to the Built for Zero program, and it works. We've seen it work in other communities. You never eliminate homelessness. It will never go away. You just get it to a number that is your manageable number. So we know in Gainesville, it's around 800 is their functional homeless number. We don't know what it is here yet. We haven't completed that transition part. So we're working towards that. The county stepping up has just been, in my mind, the best thing that's happened. I mean, we struggled with who's going to do this and who's going to do that. But by bringing us all in the same room, I think we all came together to make that happen. The other thing that we're not talking about a lot is the Hope's Clinic right next door. And Hope's Clinic is probably the best investment you can ever make. Once they get their building up, they are self-funded. They don't come back and ask for more money next year. They don't come back and say, oh, I need a price increase. They self-fund and they take care of it. And they're pushing people through their system, going through mental health and for drugs and alcohol, and they're extremely successful. So having them right next door makes all the sense in the world to add that treatment right away. And the other thing is I've been involved with the legislature lately. Southern Nevada doesn't know anything about Built for Zero. I've asked them flat out, and they don't know. So there's consequently some laws, and Mr. Reese spoke a little bit about it, that they want to take away our powers to do ordinances in the cities and the county. That can't be done in my mind. I mean, so we're trying to educate them on what we are doing in Northern Nevada. We've got it right. We're not there perfect. No, we're not even close to perfect, but we've got it right. We're going in the right direction. So with that, my comment is going to be that I think that this board's done what it's supposed to do. I think it was put together to bring everyone together, and I think we've done that. I think the county is moving forward in an awesome way, and I think keeping us informed at the other jurisdictions is important. So I would say if you don't want to disband the board, at least put it on hold and have a meeting twice a year, once a year, to get a kind of update like with Dana. I have a tour there next week. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Yeah. But just so that I can, because this is a big subject in the public, is what do you do about all the homeless people? Man, we're doing it. We're not perfect, but we're doing it. And so just for me to be able to spread the word of what the great work the county's doing right now, I think is important. But I would be in favor of, if not disbanding it, but maybe just we suspend it and or do it once or twice a year.
Thank you, Mayor Lawson. I see Councilman Dare.
Yes, so I'm the other historian, I guess I could say.
Yeah.
I will give a little history too, in the sense that when I came in office, there was a transitional housing board that there was 3 of us from each jurisdiction, and all we got to do was to hear from Pat all the sad things that happen in our community with no touch to do anything. I will agree in this that a lot of things, some of our goals were restructuring, which we've accomplished, communicating to the community, to our community, and even pulling people together. For me, I'm going to say that we're still at the beginning now. But with that said, I don't mind tweaking my own mind and trying to find another answer. This format, I think I don't disagree that this format, every 6 months would be just fine. Just to hear, to get to speak or to learn, if we needed that. We could even hear it in our own jurisdictions.
Certainly.
If we wanted.
Construction.
But I do think this shows a unity to our community of something that's valuable, because there's a lot of misconceptions. I mean, somebody shows a video that happens over in Portland, and all of a sudden people here think that's what we're doing, and all kinds of stuff. And if we don't have an answer, we're going to find that we're just constantly dealing with that. But I would say this, there was a goal when we created this that it had to do with helping our community see what unity looked like. And maybe, and I'm not just trying to give stuff for staff to do, but this would be something that we could do together. Either find some community conversations that we have in lieu of a meeting, maybe every 6 months we do that, and so every quarter we have something, because that would actually include the Eddie House and all these different people, and let us have a conversation about where we're at and show that we're involved and keep us informed as we're making decisions, or find a way none of us are on Built for Zero. Maybe they already are doing that, and maybe we need to join them a little bit so we can hear what's happening every once in a while. I don't know, there might be another way to do this. That doesn't necessarily mean that we just keep meeting and meeting and meeting to have this kind of format. But I would say the value piece, we are not. Here's what I've learned in my life. You can start and you take away the edge and the pain, and then all of a sudden we think we're okay. So we stop, we take off the gas a little bit. We'll revert to things. Human nature doesn't necessarily push harder into things. It requires some accountability, self-accountability. And so I would hate to see us see anything to take the gas pedal off when the needs are so large. That would be what I'd say. But it doesn't have to look like this, would be my balance that I would say.
Okay. And Commissioner Clark, do you have anything on that end? Okay. Do you have anything, Councilman Reese?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think because of the laboring oar that the county commission has taken and the financial commitment it's made, this body's sort of power, authority, or relevance, whichever one you want to choose, is certainly less. As a result, I'm not opposed to this body sort of dissolving itself. I think the proviso I have is that each jurisdiction, of course, needs to understand what we're doing, and if that's making those opportunities available to us, once a year or at our jurisdiction at the request of the various managers. Our manager teams do very good at working with one another to coordinate regional related issues, and so again, I don't think there's anything magical about this body at this point, although it has had some pretty magical moments in its history. So those are my thoughts, and I would kind of leave it up to the body's broader discretion. The goals that we set out for ourselves so many years ago, I think many of them have occurred and are occurring. And so I just say thanks again to all of the partners, all the community agencies, all of the jurisdictions for the work that they've done.
Thank you. Councilwoman Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since this is my first meeting, I hope it's not me that we're trying to get away from. But my only comment was in regards to what Mayor Lawson said was, what is our functional homeless number? So it doesn't sound like we've got there, and maybe this isn't the way to outline that goal, but that is something that I would be interested in for the region and how we reach that goal and how we're measuring it. But again, whatever the will of the body is, I am absolutely supportive of. And thank you so much for those who came before me, which is all of you. Thank you.
That's how I felt when I first started on this board. I was like, I'm like part of something magical, and I just stepped on. So that's cool. You guys have done all the work, and you got out, you worked out all the kinks. So yes, there's a lot of gratitude for all the folks, the vision of this region that came before. Well, here's a thought I have. We have our phase 3, our intake and resource center that should be done in the fall of 2024. I think it makes sense for us to do an update, perhaps sometime in August or September, on where that's at. And then we can kind of see, if there's anyone who wants to do an update, or if folks want to talk about housing, or if, we want to do anything else. But it certainly can be a way for us to keep you involved in the construction, because I know that that's a big priority, and something that this whole region has invested in is the capital at the CARES campus. So if that sounds like a good touch base kind of mid-year, later part of the year, we can get that on the calendar and then see where we're at from there, so we don't have to take, and we're not agendized do anything with this board at this time. So it will be an opportunity for us to kind of see what we want to do next. Do I have some general nods? Support you. Okay, thank you. Without voting. Okay, thank you for that. I will now go to item 7, board member announcements, reports, and updates. And this is if you have requests. So I like this idea of what is a functional zero in Washoe County. Let's, figure that out and how we even reach that. I think that's a good thing to look at. Any other updates that folks are looking for? Yes, Councilman Dare.
Like I say, I like the idea of exploring the idea of a community conversation.
Okay.
And I don't even know what that would look like, but the idea that we open it up, because this is a certain format that we have that, you have your public comment, and we've done stuff in the past that has been very helpful. And it may not interest everybody even on this board to be in something like that, but it definitely interests me. And I think letting our community see that.
And I will say, I think the North has to be in charge of the second annual homelessness conference. We went to one in the South, and they're like, it's your turn in the North. So there may be an opportunity to do that conversation as part of hosting that conference, of having the whole state come up and discuss these issues. So I like that idea as well, to make sure that we've got everyone around the table. Anyone on this side? Yes, Councilman.
Thank you. I'll just build on the same concept, but just add that I think in my vision for that happening, I see it as a conversation, but also almost a resource opportunity, so that all of the community partners are in the same place. Maybe they functionally set up booths where other community agencies can resource with them and learn about what happens. So I've called it a nonprofit summit at times, but it's just the opportunity for our various partner agencies to see one another as part of the broader picture. I think they're doing that functionally through some of the community court involvement, through a number of different agencies, but you would be surprised at how many times I've gone out and talked to an organization and they say, well, I've never heard of an insert name, NYEP, or I've never heard of, the Eddie House expansion project, right? The things that are happening, sometimes we get very focused in our lane. And so, and of course, there are advocacy groups that obviously want to have a seat at the table. There are folks who have lived experience who are welcome to participate more fully than in this process, right? And I think that was Mayor Lawson's point and Mr. Dare's point, is that these can be a bit more rigid and inflexible as we sit here on the dais. And what we're really looking for is a community conversation to drive positive outcomes as well. So I'm sort of seeing that more broadly, at the convention center or in some larger format space where we have, it could be workshops. I mean, I went to the States Housing Consortium workshops that occurred at the Pepper Mill earlier this year or late last year actually. And those are the kind of things that just the resourcing is made possible through.
Yeah, that's great. And I know we all have donation funds, so we can figure out who wants to spearhead that and get them the support they need. So great ideas. I'll be in touch on how all that looks in the future. Any other comments? Seeing none. We will now go to item 8, public comment. Madam Clerk.
I have nobody signed in. Is there anybody in the audience wishing to speak? Seeing none, Madam Chair, that item is closed.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for your time today. It was a great meeting. Now we adjourn.